Hello. So dance is a fine art activity, but should it be a sport too? Well, what is the definition of a sport? According to the dictionary website, a sport is an athletic activity requiring skill or physical prowess and often of a competitive nature. So there's already other sports such as gymnastics, figure skating, or synchronized swimming that already incorporate dance into their competitions. So why doesn't dance already have their own recognition to be a sport? It shares many of the characteristics that are seen in other sports as it is, which are dance is competitive, it's athletic, and it does put the dancer at higher risk of injury. So you may wonder, how is dance competitive? Well, dancers do have competitions, and they are from any levels as regional, national, or even worldwide in different genres such as jazz, ballet, contemporary, and even ballroom dancing. Just like in gymnastics and figure skating, the dancers are being graded on their technique, their endurance, and performance for the number that they are performing for the audience, which leads to the audience having large crowds and being supportive, just like you would see in other sports such as soccer, football, and basketball when they are cheering for their team. The same thing is seen in dance competitions. So in order for a dancer to compete, they must audition for their dance team, which is very similar to an athlete audition or trying out for a soccer team or a basketball team. They are being graded on how their technique and how good they are in their sport. So that leads us to the next characteristic that shows that dance should be a sport, which is dancers must be athletic. In order to be able to compete, the dancer must work in their flexibility, they must work in their technique, and they must practice multiple times a week, just like an athlete would do for a different sport. So according to the Journal of Strength and Conditioning, the dancer is very much like an athlete because it involves muscular strength and flexibility. And according to Learning About Dance by Nora Ambrosio, we do learn that dancers must also condition outside of the ballroom by working on weight training or even doing yoga or Pilates. Their endurance is also very important because they must be able to breathe during their performance and be able to not show the audience that they are working really hard. So the reason why the dancer is very athletic, it does put the dancer at risk of injuries. So the dancer is put at risk of injuries because of the movements they are required to do, such as being flexible, and also like in ballet, they must be able to get on their toes, which is called point, and it does put them at risk of injuries. Once the athlete gets injured, then it can affect their career permanently or temporarily. But they must be able to do physical rehabilitation just like in another sport. So the dancer does experience very similar things as an athlete would in another sport. So in conclusion, the dance involves a lot of athleticism. It's very competitive, and it does put the dancer at risk of injury. And that's very similar to soccer, basketball, football, baseball, because they share those same characteristics. There are other sports, such as chess, that do not have those characteristics and are considered a sport. So why isn't dance recognized? They work just as hard as an athlete would, and they have to work on their technique and practice multiple times a week in order to improve their skill. I believe that dance should not only be a fine art, but it should be respected and recognized as a sport too. Wouldn't you like to see dance in the Olympics in the future? You already kind of do. When Aly Raisman is doing her floor exercise, that is the same thing as a dancer would be doing. So why not add dance to the Olympics already and classify it as a sport? Dance is certainly a sport, and they are phenomenal athletes. and they're also artists. So let's give them the respect they deserve. Thank you.